Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here in EFL Talks again. Thank you, Rob, for the invitation. It's always my pleasure. Um, well, today, what I want to share with you is the experience I had in the last semester at the one of the universities, and well. Let's get started and let's see what happens this morning. Uh, okay, let me check. So let's define first what is the definition of diversity. And this is one of my favorite paintings from an Ecuadorian painter, Eduardo Kingman. And what is this important? Because it's we need to identify, have a clear idea what diversity is. It's not just the sense of acceptance and respect, uh, individual differences, but also through this knowing and accepting diversity, we support each other and we grow all together. So I really love this painting. I told you, so the parrot over there with a full of colors and different colors that shows diversity. And I'm going to share what happened in my last semester. I was invited to teach in okay, let me see. Yes, I was invited to teach at Universidad Estatal de Bolívar in Guaranda. It's on the center of Ecuador, 5 hours away from home. So, but it was rewarding. So this is a small university with around 5,000 students from all over the country, and 25.4% of the total population of the university come from indigenous communities. However, if you, in the population in the province, but however, if you ask the people in the province, they identify 66% of the total population identify themselves as mestizos. So I was invited to implement the new curriculum with tourism undergraduate programs. They were minus A1, A1, false beginners, all of them with clear differences on this balance on language skills. So fortunately, they were small groups, 16 students minimum, 21 maximum. 60% of my students are mestizos and 40% of them indigenous. So the interesting thing is that in this 40%, their L1 is Quechua, the second language is Spanish, and they are learning English as a foreign language. So another interesting issue here is that no textbooks, no course books at all. So this university, the department decided not to use any course book, but also had the Common European Framework as the standard, and we had 4 hours per week of English. So what I decided to do is to take take the contents and divide it into topics, using different kind of methodologies, not only CLIL, not only project-based learning, not only the communicative approach, but a variety of methods and approaches that allow me to reach the objective. So, and at the end, they had a standard test at the end of the semester and monitoring the students' progress. So, by the way, this picture is taken from the university. So, the mountain you see here is the El Chimborazo, one of the top mountains in the world. So, but it's a beautiful view. So, and that was, oops, and I was very extremely motivated. So, so the very first day of class, so I just started my class introducing myself in English, and one of my students from the indigenous group said aloud, "I'm so screwed." So it was kind of, okay, what's going on in here? So what she said is that nobody else had uh, talked to them in English since the very first day of class. Even I was using simple structure, simple sentences, and a way to introduce myself. So they felt that they were going to be screwed since the very first day of class. So, and then I noticed that even they had that level of balance of skills, I had to work in motivation, self-confidence, in other words, to build a growth mindset coach for the rest of the semester. So, and what I did is to let them know that everyone can learn. This is my group of students where I told you before, it's around 40% of the group is comes from indigenous communities. So, and we implement different kind of uh, activities as I define as projects. So at the end of each unit, they had a specific project in order to um, show their progress in the languages. So I'm going to share with you some of them. So the first one is it's what I call to this PowerPoint, this slide is we love challenges. And the first project they had to do is to video record themselves, a very short video introducing themselves in a professional way. So we had, I gave them some specific guidelines of what they have to include. It was a very, very short video, and it was another way to connect not only to English as a to English, to the language, but also connected with the technology. This is one of my students. Unfortunately, we cannot run the video. And then the second project, this was at the end of week 3, is working with comparison and contrast and the connection with something that it was relevant to their professional. As students of tourism, they need to know about myths and legends of the country. So I used this lava video from Disney Pixar to introduce the topic, but then they had to do some research about legends in Ecuador with similarities and differences. And of course, there is one legend in Ecuador that we have, the legend of Taita Chimborazo and Mama Tungurahua. So Taita in Quechua means father and Mama mother. So this is the road of the volcanoes. In fact, this is a real picture, not taken by me, but by someone else. So as you see the variety of volcanoes, and that is this called the road of volcanoes. So Ecuador, it's a mini tiny country, but it's a very diverse one. So they had the opportunity to do some research in English, but also to connect with graphic organizers, Venn diagrams, and also identifying main ideas, main characters, secondary characters, problems, solutions in very simple language. So they had the opportunity to interact with the legend, and it was a very exciting activity. So the next one is a combination of different activities, and an interesting anecdote. If you see on your right, the top right picture, are the students given directions, because that was part of one of the units. So how to give directions. And my students, and the funny anecdote is that they said, but teacher, we have GPS, we have Waze, we have Google Map. We don't need to read maps. And it says, no, you have to learn how to do it. So, and in giving directions using authentic material, and let them practice the language. So that was one of the activities. So information gap activities were also introduced all the time. And of course, the very famous and well-known show and tell. So they had the opportunity to interact every time with every single class with different group of students. So they never work with the same classmates. So all of them were, all the groups and the projects were different. So this was one of the most interesting projects I had, because they had to develop an entrepreneurship project. So this is a real thing. So they had to create their own mini company. So they had to be innovative. They chose their own topics. They had total independence to work with. So then we have one of the projects they have, for example, it's guinea pig ceviche or different kind of desserts using the traditional drink. That was one of the most interesting projects they had, and also that was the one that had the highest impact because they had the opportunity not only to present but also to sell their products and make some extra money. I have 10 seconds. I guess I have to run. Okay, these two pictures, this is the last project. So we had photography exhibition and they had to present their best pictures. These two pictures on the right and the left, they are taken from Cuyabeno Reserve. And as you see, there is a real tarantula as a decoration over there, as a nice ornament on the girl's head. So it's a real life tarantula. And just to show and connect every single activity with this. As final conclusions and remarks, because uh, of the time, is that what I've noticed after this semester is that the level of oral and written skills were increased. The bilingual community was interested in what we were doing. There was a wide uh, sense of pride for their community and to show what they have to show. And they implement their entrepreneurship projects in their own communities. They became risk takers, and I became the happiest teacher in the world. So I think that my time is over. I don't know, but this is what I did, and this is what we did, and I'm so happy that they, after this semester, they were risk takers. So I think that I run a lot, Karen. Well, thank you so much.
No, you did
And come
wonderful.
to Ecuador. You are all invited to come to Ecuador.
Yay, I love that idea. Thank you. Thank you so much,